Welcome, everybody, to the podcast Aftersight that is sponsored by Audio Information Network of Colorado. I am your host today, Penn Street, and I hope everybody is having a great new year to this 2022. I can't believe it's already 22 already. Today's guest is Don Opeka. And first, I want to recognize Don as a veteran. Thank you so much for serving our country. And Don is coming to us today from Orion Mortgage. And him and his wife, Terry, started Orion Mortgage in 1996. And for the last 26 years, they have been working diligently to provide Colorado borrowers with the best solutions to their funding needs. As their business had a natural progression towards reverse mortgages, Don recognized the need, it was actually a great need, for education on this topic, because there's a lot of information out there that is super confusing. A certified senior advisor, Don is committed to being a safe and reliable resource of information for seniors, their support systems, and their professionals working to enhance the lives of older adults. His book, Why a Reverse Mortgage, is an easy to read, easy to understand, and it's an overview of what those loans are and how they have been used to have positive, life-changing impacts for his clients. And I am one of those people that I really don't understand reverse mortgage. I've heard, some pros and cons about them, Don. And Don and his company was one of the sponsors for our audio trekker team that some of you might remember from last summer. And we really, really appreciate that support, Don. And Don and I run into each other a lot at different resource fairs, networking events. And it's been wonderful to get to know you a little bit better. And I'm so, thank you for being willing to come on today and talk to us and maybe fill in some of those gaps on reverse mortgage. Welcome to the program, Don.
Thank you. I think you opened the door whenever you said you don't understand the product. Let me give a brief overview of that.
Yeah.
The term comes from the idea of starting with a home that's free and clear, and instead of making mortgage payments to the mortgage company sets up a loan so that they make payments to the borrower each month, and those payments can be set up either as essentially a lifetime payment, what we refer to as a tenure, TENURE payment, that will last as long as the borrower is in the house, or they can be set up for a term, which is say 10 years or 5 years or whatever. And with those situations, when the money runs out, they're done. The loan can also be used to just extinguish an existing mortgage or take out a lump sum of money, have no mortgage payments, and then the interest and the principal come due at the end of the loan when the borrower leaves the home. And at that point, typically the house is sold, the loan's paid off, and the borrower walks away with whatever's left. So it's not as complex a process as some people think it is. It's really pretty straightforward, and it's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because there's a lot of confusing information out there, and I tried to make it simple.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the purposes of the book. The other purpose of the book was to tell the stories, because a lot of the TV ads and the ads for the product tend to say, oh, you need a reverse mortgage just because. And no, it's really a product that solves people's problems.
Right.
Some of the common situations are When the first spouse dies, part of the Social Security goes away. When that Social Security check goes away, if there's a mortgage in place, it may be difficult to make the mortgage payments.
Right.
Reverse mortgage can eliminate the mortgage payment and allow the surviving spouse to stay in the house. We did that. Good example was a lady in Longmont that was brought to us by her brother-in-law to solve just that problem.
Wow.
Another lady went one better on that situation. She not only got the reverse mortgage to eliminate her mortgage payment, but she rents out a basement apartment. She rents out an upstairs bedroom. She's trained the tenants to do her cooking and her outside yard work. So they're not only paying her rent, they're doing the work around the house.
I like that. I like that approach.
they're paying her to keep her in her house.
Wow.
And people often think of, oh, well, gee, I've retired, I've got this big house, and we got to sell it and move down. Typically, the numbers just don't work, because if a real estate agent told me more than 20 years ago that in order to move down, you've got to move to a house that's at least a third less than what you have if you want to save any money.
Yeah.
If it's just a case of I want to live over there, then go for it. You can move up. And we've had one lady sell her more or less $250,000 house that was free and clear and buy a $490,000 house with a reverse mortgage because she wanted to live in a nicer place.
Right,
and
right.
She did that for the rest of her days. But when I tell the story of home sharing, I see older people as a tremendously underutilized resource, because the business of home sharing with organizations like Sunshine Home Share or Silver Nest or Odd Couples Housing are three that can facilitate that. And you can solve affordable housing issues. You can solve transportation issues. If a younger person is living with an older person, it may be the means to get to the doctor's appointment.
Right.
And like one of my clients was 82, had a 4-bedroom house, and she's got 3 spare bedrooms.
Yeah.
She could potentially rent those to a single parent with a couple of kids and make it possible for that single parent to hold down a full-time job while she supervises the kids that are in school.
Right.
Just as one way to take advantage of more than just the reverse mortgage, eliminating a mortgage payment or creating additional income for the person. But we see these things as life transforming for people.
Right. And like you said, some people want to stay in their home. It's maybe that's where they lived with their spouse. Maybe it's near their own children, whatever the reason is. And the reverse mortgage, along with, possibly some of these other resources, they can actually have more money in their pocket than they even thought, it sounds like.
It can make more difference than any other program I know of. The lady I just mentioned that had the 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
I talked to her for 6 years before she decided to move forward with the loan. It started with she was going to sell her house and move to a townhome that a friend was selling. That didn't work. And eventually, when she lost her job at age 82, she realized that she wasn't going to be able to continue as it was.
Yeah.
The reverse mortgage eliminated a mortgage payment, eliminated about $30,000 of credit card debt, got her about $30,000 to take care of some deferred maintenance on the house, got her an additional monthly check that she could spend. The total swing on her budget was about $3,700 a month.
Wow.
There is not another program that I know of that can swing somebody's budget $3,700 a month.
Right.
The transfer. Go ahead.
What do you tell people? And I was in a meeting yesterday, and it was just kind of a side conversation that I heard of somebody talking to their friends back on the East Coast. And I guess their children live in Colorado, and they just had a baby. So it's their first grandchild. And they were talking, saying, well, you need to move to Colorado, so you can be near your grandchild. And they were really concerned about the move, not only the move, but also they were, I could tell by the one sided comment. Yes, I'm a nose person. I have ears.
Yes.
I can still hear. I can't see. I can still hear. But he said something that kind of struck me, knowing that we were going to have this conversation today. Is, oh well, you'll want to buy a house that you can in Colorado that you can hand down to your grandchildren. And I know that was sort of my parents. It's like, well, yes, we get to live in this house and it's our house, but it's something, it's a little nest egg that they could hand down to their children or grandchildren. And how does reverse mortgage play into that scenario? Because I do know that a lot of seniors think of their house, their home, as the investment that maybe they can hand down to their children.
That's the issue that they consistently overlook is Medicaid in that situation.
Okay.
Because if they have less than $1 million separate from the house, they can easily find themselves as they age on Medicaid. The fences I put around it are pretty simple. If somebody has less than $100,000 separate from their house, they're on their way to Medicaid. If they have more than $1 million, they have a chance of private paying it. If they're between 100,000 and $1 million, jury's out on what end of life issues they have.
Okay.
The issue with Medicaid is that Medicaid will pay the bills when the money runs out, but then Medicaid does an estate recovery and Medicaid gets the house.
Oh, I did not know that. I had no idea about that.
My poster child for getting it wrong was my next door neighbor. I never talked to them about a reverse mortgage. The house was in significant disrepair. Husband and wife went off to a nursing home at the same time. She lasted about 13 months. He lasted about 15 months. The house sold for $150,000. This is several years ago when home prices were lower.
Yeah.
But my calculation is that Medicaid paid the bills. Medicaid got all the money from the house because it was free and clear. All the kids got was the chance to account for everything, including the Christmas ornaments and the trinkets and all the mementos that they had to account for to satisfy the Medicaid claim. And if they had a reverse mortgage on the house, the reverse mortgage could have allowed them to maintain the house in better condition while they lived there. Medicaid would have paid the same. The kids would have gotten the same. And people forget that a reverse mortgage can really be spending Medicaid's money instead of the kids' money. And,
interesting.
And the tragedy is whenever the kids are spending their resources to help the parents. I've got no objection to doing that.
Yeah.
But they will put money into it thinking that they're going to get it back when they sell the house. And they're not aware of the fact that between them and the house sits Medicaid.
Wow.
And we routinely overlook that piece because we all think that how things are today is how it's always going to be.
Right.
The Dr. Huntington Potter out at the Anschutz Research Facility says that half the population is dealing with some form of dementia at age 85. And dementia is the most expensive way to exit. Home care expenses. Last month, I talked to a home care person who had a client that was spending $50 an hour 24/7. That's $36,000 a month for home care. And when you take time to sit down and think about what that costs, the cash burn at $36,000 a month, $100,000 lasts less than 3 months.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
understand that that's an extreme case,
Yeah.
but the non-medical home care people are having trouble staffing their positions, just like the restaurants and just like everybody else.
Absolutely. I hear it over and over in all the meetings that I'm in with you. They're,
That's the universal story, and they're publishing rates of 40 an hour, but this couple was paying 50 to hold on to the caregivers they want and get the service that they want. And apparently they had the means to pay for it.
right.
But most of the people that I meet don't have the means to pay for that long-term care in the house.
Yeah.
And Medicaid's not going to pay for 24/7 in the house like
Right.
that. That's going to be a private pay only
Right.
situation. And so denying that Medicaid is in the middle, in my mind, is the greatest disservice that people forget about when they're looking at a reverse mortgage. You may as well spend it out. You may as well maintain the house, because if the resources aren't there for private pay to the end, then hitting Medicaid just means that you're saving the house for the government.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't know that. So you're not only educating the people that are interested in potentially doing this, but really their families and
the families need to sit down and understand it as well, because they don't understand that a reverse mortgage can help the kids.
Yeah.
Or the siblings. And one of our clients was a good example of that. They came to us when the sister was in early stage of dementia, and it was a challenge to get it done because of she had already been diagnosed, but she had been draining her siblings' resources to keep her in the house.
Wow.
By doing a reverse mortgage for her, she could stay in the house using the house as a source of resources. She stayed in the house another year and a half. When she could no longer stay in the house, there was enough money left in a reverse mortgage to pay for the first several months of care in a memory care unit. Then the house could be sold so she could move into a memory care unit using money from the reverse mortgage. Then the house could be sold by her POA, and the remaining funds be used to pay for her care. And when that money ran out, then she will move to Medicaid.
Right.
But I see over and over and over again, people overlook the potential to run out of money, end up on Medicaid, and they think it's all going to the kids because the house is free and clear. They have equity in the house, but the reality is that if you want to leave more for the kids, simply spend less, and then there will be more for the kids.
Right.
And I'm a strong believer in the important time for the kids is train them to be independent, train them to make their own money.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then kind of like in my situation, by the time my mother and dad passed, I was 75. And so it's kind of late to be worrying about.
Yeah. If you don't have your finances together by then, you
cannot give the kids enough money to make a difference.
Yeah.
The training that you can give them, help them buy a house when they're young, is way more important in my mind than and do it while you can see what your
Exactly. Yeah. So what you're doing,
What
and
if,
yeah, but also like I feel like, I mean, even with my parents have passed away quite a few years ago, but it was more important for us, the kids, myself and my siblings, that my parents later years were comfortable and they got, they were, as healthy as they could be. That was more important to us than, we don't care about the house. We don't care about the things, this was your life.
exactly.
You worked your tail off, you know.
Right. They
So
saved the resources. They bought the house.
yeah,
And I I agree that those resources that they've saved up need to take care of them for the
yeah,
rest of the days. And whatever's left over at the end is great. It's nice to pass it on, but mom and dad need to be taken care of.
yeah,
And I do see people who have a different view on that. There are people out there who are sitting there waiting for the inheritance from the kids because, or from their parents
yeah,
because the kids couldn't manage their funds.
yeah.
Well,
That's a whole other
the
discussion.
that's a whole nother story. But the
Yeah,
reality of that is that if the kids haven't learned to manage the money before, then it doesn't matter how much you give them. It's
it's
like a lottery
yeah,
winnings. It'll last 5 years and they'll be in worse shape than they were before.
yeah. That's a good point.
Because what happens is their spending goes up to a new higher level. They burn through the money, and then they've set their lifestyle at an unsustainable level,
Right.
and and then the come down is worse than if they'd never had the money in the first place.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
so.
I know.
I'm
And
sorry if I'm disappointing people with what I'm saying, but
the facts.
yeah, I know.
Sometimes the truth hurts, Don, but it doesn't mean it doesn't need to
I,
be said.
so that's my take on the situation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
uh, Chief,
how do people get a hold of you? And then I did want to mention that Don's book is in large print, which I really appreciate. And then also I know you're working hard to get it put into an audio format, which once that's out, AINC will definitely let all of the listeners know where to find that. But how can not only people that might be interested in reverse mortgage for themselves, but also for a loved one, how can they get a hold of you? How can they have access to your book?
it's if you want to call me, I'm at 303-469-1254, and I actually answer the phone.
He does. He
Unless,
does.
or you can find us on orionmortgage.com. It's ORIONMORTGAGE.com. You'll find the book if you go to donopeka.com. It's DONOPEKA.com. Will take you to the webpage for the book.
Great.
And
Great.
and so there are, give me a call is the best way to find me. And we're a small company, so it's probably either I'm going to answer the phone or my wife's going to answer the phone or Amanda's going to answer the phone. But
Yeah.
there are only three of us here, so